Good evening. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network at 7:30 in the prime time. I'm Robert McNeely as we await President Trump to deliver an address to the nation, an address that is sure to be touching on domestic policy, but also tariffs and how the changing of the global economy, the conquering of globalization, bringing an estimated $18 trillion into the United States potentially with countless different deals, whether it be in Qatar to Saudi Arabia and the UAE and the Gulf states to Europe, and restructuring NATO, every member state of NATO paying 5% of that security pact with the exception of Spain, dating back to the summer meetings. And then the Trump-Turnberry Accords with the UK Prime Minister Starmer and also the European Union President. And then we look back to the Indo-Pacific, the meeting in Malaysia between Thailand and Cambodia, to the security pact in Japan, and ultimately more business in South Korea, with Hyundai and Toyota among some of the companies overseas that are building their plants and their manufacturing abilities right here in the United States of America. From Detroit, Michigan, down to Birmingham, Alabama, all the way to Savannah, Georgia, you see the success of what this president, this business leader in chief, this peacemaker in chief, the America First agenda happening in real time with an embargo, one of the largest in recent world history upon Venezuela at this moment. So we have a whole host of topics that we may hear in more detail from President Trump tonight. In the meantime, as well, if you caught the coverage earlier today with my colleague Matthew Alvarez, the dignified return of Sergeant William Howard and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar of the Iowa National Guard losing their lives in Syria to radical Islamic terrorists. And Ayad Mansour Sakat, the U.S. translator who's overseas, these young men laying it all out on the line and giving their last full measure of devotion for a grateful nation. We have that playback for you later on this evening in case you missed the broadcast earlier today. In the meantime, Matthew got to speak with the great Scott Cheney, the senior portfolio manager of Monetary Gold, and we got to check in with him all the way out in Los Angeles, California, and why Monetary Gold is truly the best thing to turn to right now. Think about the BRICS nations and them divesting from the dollar, losing 40% of its purchasing power. The dollar in the last 2 decades, gold and silver can really be the diversification you need with wealth, security, preservation of your retirement, your pensions, and everything that you worked hard for. Here's the interview from earlier today.
And joining us now is Scott Cheney with Monetary Gold. Scott, thanks so much for joining us once again here on Right Side.
Always a pleasure to be on the show. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, getting ready for Christmas. You know, thinking about RSBN for the gold.com too, because you get a free info kit, which is always good. But how are you doing?
Right. We're doing well. We're obviously busy right now. The holidays are in the next couple days, next few weeks, we got a lot going on. So people are reaching out to us before the holidays to get gold and silver. And as we talked about, and I talk about it weekly on your show, the price of silver and the price of gold are rising and are going up. So
it's wild to see that. I remember last time we spoke, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the troy ounce for gold was more than $4,000. And then
right.
I see us saying, even before the end of President Trump's second term, that it could possibly rise up to $7K. That's a lot, man.
Right. Correct. And you know what? There are actually experts that see that rising a lot more than $7,000. And we could see that. And we can't predict the future. Past performance is not indicative of future opportunities. But we really see the market right now, the debt, and really the weakening of the dollar, the U.S. dollar. Right now, Matthew, gold is at $4,337 an ounce. Just from today, it's up over $35. We have silver right now. Silver just hit an all-time high Congratulations, Silver. Been telling your listeners for, I think, ever since I've been on here, every week, hey, silver is a solid asset that we are looking at very closely. Silver just hit an all-time high. It's at $66.36. So it's gone up just $2.91, but over 4% just today. That's an asset that we feel very, very strongly about. It not only is it safe haven, but it's a demand that our economy needs right now. We're actually running out of it, and I'm going to just continue to emphasize that every time I'm on the show. Silver is an asset that there's dual things that happen. We see it as protection, but we see it as growth. And when our country runs out of that, the supply and the demand become greater, and that therefore the prices, they rise.
What's even more revealing is the behavior of the central banks too, right? They're trimming their exposure to U.S. treasuries and then increasing their gold reserves. So if they're recognizing the pattern, that is really telling us something, isn't it?
It is. And so I continue to say this over and over again on your show. When the central banks are buying gold right now at the fastest rate in 57 years, we all need to take a look at what they're doing. And it's not just the central banks in the United States, Matthew. It's the central banks throughout the entire world that are buying up gold. So we're taking a look at this going, okay, the central banks, they know something. We want to make sure that we're moving towards where the smart money is going. And the smart money, what we're seeing right now with the central banks buying that gold at the fastest rate in 57 years, we want to do what the smart money is doing. And so we're looking at that, and then we're looking at BRICS nations again when it comes to Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. There's many other countries that are involved in this. They're stepping away from the dollar, right? And they're creating a new currency that is backed by commodities like gold and silver. So it's backed by gold. Those indications with the central banks, with BRICS nations, all is just gives you more of a reason to respond with action on that and purchase precious metals.
I mean, and on top of that, you have not only the BRICS nations, the experienced investors, economists, and portfolio managers. They're tracking these indicators. They're seeing things like the soaring national debt and unchecked government spending and on and on and on. And then the dollar then is losing that purchasing power by the day. So there's just a lot. And it seems like you could be anchored in better with gold and silver, especially as the numbers, they just keep going up, Scott.
That's exactly right, and we have a hand on this. We're seeing this from we're paying very close attention to all aspects of the world right now when it's tied to the U.S. dollar. So when we believe it's a good time to sell, you'll get a phone call from us. When we believe it's a good time to buy more, you'll get a phone call from us. We are really helping manage your portfolio for a life term. We don't disappear after a purchase is made. Matthew, it's really important we build relationship with everybody that purchases precious metals with our company, Monetary Gold. And I want to emphasize this. We've been in business for 25 years. Okay, we have seen the ups and downs, the dips of the economy, when it's hot, when it's not, a good time to liquidate, a good time to sell. We want to make sure that when you purchase gold and silver, you know what you're doing, you're getting educated on those precious metals, and you're staying up to date with how the market is moving. And that's exactly what we do.
Exactly. And so the process is fairly simple to get started. I know the numbers is 888-617-7994, and then go to rsbnforthegold.com. That gets you kick-started. Then you get an info kit, but also you could talk on the phone with someone like yourself, right?
Correct. We will answer. A live specialist will really understand what you have, want to make sure that you're a potential customer for us. And then moving forward, you'll speak with a representative like myself. I am on the phones. After we get done with this interview, I will go and speak to other customers about their portfolio and how to manage it. So you're dealing with live people. It's not AI. It's not a robot. It's best that we understand your needs, that we identify it, and that we make sure we could help you. And then we walk you through the process of how all of it works. And we're not here to give you a hard sell and talk you into precious metals. This is something to where we see the writing is on the wall, Matthew. People are doing it. We realize that we're not going to convince people to buy gold and silver. And again, it is physical precious metals. It's not a NFT. It's not tied to the stock market. We are focused on tangible assets that you could hold. Again, it's wealth that you could hold. And it's very important that your listeners understand that.
Yeah, exactly. And people are going to talk about the economy, talk about money and all that over the holidays. There's just so many topics that people bring up, right?
Right.
During a Christmas dinner, whenever. So it's important now to look at monetary gold, especially before the holidays, even into the holidays and after. But what would benefit just doing it now? Is it just simply gold and silver is just a good option?
Well, look at the last 6 months, okay, when it comes to silver. We have customers that bought 6 months ago. We put them in silver. Silver's up 70%, and now they have a safe haven asset with that. Now their wealth is really protected into a precious metal, and they've seen returns on it. Over 70% in 6 months. Those are some returns that anyone would be pleased with. Why wouldn't people want to buy gold and silver would really be my question to you. And so this is what we're doing. We are looking at the market, and we do not see it slowing down.
And that's what's awesome to see. And we've seen, again, I was in a town in Georgia, and they were looking at the troy ounce for gold. And it read it right there, more than $4,000. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So now's a great time to really get involved with monetary gold. Go to rsbnforthegold.com. Also, you can give them a phone call. That number coming up right here, 888-617-7994. Scott Cheney with Monetary Gold. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully, we get a lot of calls there. And yes, amen. Thank God for the birth of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Jesus. Absolutely. Hey, Robert left me with what my favorite Christmas movie was, and I told him The Passion of the Christ. I know it's about his death, but he resurrected. But I went, and my mom got upset with me. She said, "Well, you need to talk about a Christmas movie." So I said, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was one of them, and then A Christmas Story. I just remember that line. You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that line too.
How about yourself, though?
The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I love that one. And then also Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. Those are some of my favorite. Of course, Home Alone, Home Alone 2, all that good stuff too. So
there we go.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
There we go.
Well, Scott Cheney, thank you again for joining us from Monetary Gold there in the great state of California. Thank you so much, sir.
Always a pleasure to be on your show. Again, you have a free invite when you come to California. I'd love to show you around and take you and your family out.
That'd be awesome. Thank you again, Scott.
Thank you.
We are so fortunate to be joined by Scott Cheney, again, the senior marketing manager, portfolio manager as well at Monetary Gold, a great partnership. And from wealth security in your home, something that President Trump will touch on tonight for sure as we look into this golden era, nearly 11 months back into office. Border security has been at the height and the forefront of the minds of countless people, especially those who are victimized by the fentanyl trade and by human trafficking. President Trump highlighting that just the other day in the Oval Office and presenting those 1918 medals based on the Mexican border security actions that have been taking place over the course of the last 11 months. And we know at this time in office, Sleepy Joe Biden had released or let in nearly 687,000 illegal migrants back into the country that we know of. 0, in the last 6 months under this administration. And Border Czar Tom Homan stating before President Trump awarded these brave military and security personnel their medals that he's gone along hundreds, thousands of miles of border from Texas to California and through the ports of this country. He does not see one illegal alien. It's really an amazing job that's been done by our federal law enforcement, local and state branches as well, in a cohesive nature of government agencies working together, perhaps better than ever, with this cabinet leading the way on that, as we show you that video in case you missed it.
With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
It has been one team, one mission to get 100% operational control of the southern border.
President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop.
You want to talk about America first, peace through strength and common sense? It all manifests in one basic phrase down there. Border security is national security.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth highlighting that border security is national security, vice versa, as well as people like Ann Fundner, who have been on the network a couple of times to talk about the loved ones they have lost, the people that will not be at the Christmas dinner table as a result of a war happening upon the United States, invisible at times, but costing hundreds of thousands of lives. Dr. Sebastian Dworka recently put it in terms that it's hard to wrap your mind around, but it was a very good comparison. From 1950 on, post-World War II, into the Korean conflict, until through every armed engagement of the United States through Operation Iraqi Freedom and the War on Terror, culminating in the loss of thousands of American personnel, some drafted, some volunteer. And that roughly reached a number of short of a couple of 100,000 soldiers. That amount of people was lost over the course of the sophomore year of the Biden administration during the autopen, that taking place. And it's hard to wrap your mind around unless you know someone personally or unless it's happened to your family. It's a poison that's out there, this fentanyl, and it's highly appropriate that President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio taking action to stop the narco traders and the traffickers, many of whom coming from Venezuela. Now, as we dive into tonight, roughly an hour from now at the 9 o'clock hour East Coast, 6 o'clock on the West Coast, President Trump to address the nation on not only these issues of border security, but the economy, global affairs, also what he plans to do domestically, and I'm sure some statements on health care, as it's been a battle on Capitol Hill. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's 10% off of your must-have medications this holiday season. Use code RSBN10, that's RSBN10, and there you can find life-saving medications for you and yours to stock up your medicine cabinet or to take on the road with you as you see family and friends. There's a lot of togetherness during the holidays. It's family, faith, friends, a little bit of football, and we're all coming together to celebrate what really matters most this time of year. It's a season of giving. It's a season to reflect upon how blessed we are as citizens of this great nation. Scan that QR code there now, 10% off. The code is RSBN10. What's wonderful about this leading online family pharmacy is that they cherish this time of year. They celebrate Hanukkah. They celebrate Christmas. And they want to give you life-saving, off-label, generic medications that are often not prescribed at your pharmacy down the street. And there's no red tape and no bureaucracy. If you do not have insurance, that's okay. Just a pharmaceutical note. A doctor licensed here in the United States will review the order, make sure it's all kosher, and send that right to your door where you ordered from. No hassle, no sweat, no blood, sweat, or tears involved. for Tamiflu, antibiotics, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and 300 plus life-saving medications, including emergency medical kits. Again, you can take these on the road with you. Stock up that medicine cabinet. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Monetary gold as well. Always good to hear from Mr. Scott Chenet and his team in Los Angeles, California, as they look to prioritize a plan just for you. It's not one size fits all with monetary gold, but rather wealth, security, and preservations for your retirement, your pension, everything you worked hard for, whether it's buying another property or simply diversifying your income, or if you want to leave a stocking stuffer for your kids or grandkids or great-grandkids, a wonderful way to create generational wealth in 2025. Call today. Don't delay. It's 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate those annual IRA fees permanently for life at RSBNforthegold.com. That's RSBNforthegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate IRA fees permanently and for life. And we know that central banks buying up gold and silver in 2025 and BRICS nations divesting from the dollar, which has lost 20%, 40% of its purchasing power going back 2 decades. So a shocking statistic as we look to make sure that we're wealthy again and financially secure in your household. What do you have to lose? Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide today at Monetary Gold, RSBNforthegold.com, Kalshi.com/RSBN. With all of that held over from Monetary Gold, you might as well trade and bet on the American story. College football. Who will be the winner come January 19th? Will it be Ohio State, the Buckeyes? How about the Indiana Hoosiers with a Cinderella story of a year, the first outright Big Ten championship in football since 1945 and the end of World War II. They used to be a basketball school, or known as that, but the Hoosiers well on their way on the gridiron with Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, leading the way. If you have not caught his speech, go back and watch that. It reminds me of Kevin, Macaulay Culkin's character in Home Alone, when he's reunited with his mom, both in the first one and in the second one, whether he's lost in New York or lost in the city of Chicago. Always heartwarming to thank Mom for what they prepare, a wonderful holiday season, and Fernando did just that the other night, saying that this trophy is just as much his mother's accomplishment as it is his. Well, the Georgia Bulldogs barked their way back into the championship with a visit to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Will Jensen Wang become 2025's Time Person of the Year, or will AI hold on to that title? Perhaps President Donald Trump will receive that, as he won the Humanitarian Award and the Peacemaker Award from FIFA. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Trade on anything. It's the American story unfolding before our eyes. You might as well trade and bet on it. Kalshi.com/RSBN. As we get ready for a big speech tonight to address the nation as we go into this fourth night of Hanukkah celebrations and getting towards the end of Advent, as next week is Christmas time, which is wild to think about how fast this year went by after the most historic campaign in our lifetimes in 2024. President Trump seeking to replicate that with midterms that will have change maps from the Lone Star State of Texas to the Tar Heel State of North Carolina. We'll be visiting there this weekend, to Indiana and the crossroads of America, or perhaps even Illinois and California with Prop 50. It's something to watch as we look for this golden era of America and President Trump tonight in the prime time. I'm Robert McNeely with RSBN. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsors. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. In case you missed earlier today, President Trump involved with a meeting of the family members of those National Guardsmen killed in Syria over the past couple of days. The meeting took place before a solemn ceremony, the dignified transfer of their bodies, with the president on hand, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, including the civilian corps and command of the military, with the commander-in-chief, President Donald Trump himself. Also Susie Wiles on hand, amongst others, to pay their respects to those who have given their last full measure of devotion. This dignified transfer was for the fallen service members from Iowa, Sergeant William Howard and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tavar, again of the Iowa National Guard. Ayed Mansour Sakat, also a U.S. civilian from Michigan, worked as an interpreter. All three of those men returned home from Syria after a terrible attack upon them by radical Islamic terrorists. The bodies arrived in a C-17 plane, and we have video playback on that. There's no audio on this, but really captures that moment of silence and a nation forever grateful from their civilian leadership and military command on hand for this dignified transfer. Thank you to angelpaste.com, the miracle that keeps on giving this holiday season, and a great stocking stuffer for you and yours, especially with last-minute gift ideas at angelpaste.com. They are Christian-owned, they hire veterans, and they are in Spring, Texas, right off the Gulf of America. That vitamin B infused miracle cream really makes a difference. I use this every day, as well as the orange option, a vitamin C infused, non-GMO, non-chemical cream that's especially good this time of year. Good round the clock and 365 days out of the year, but especially now when cold and flu season is happening and that lingers, this is a good way to naturally boost your immunity. As well as the natural facial spray you can have to go paint the town red this Friday evening as you gear up for your continued Hanukkah celebrations and for Christmas next week. It is the miracle and a great stocking stuffer. Check out the products at angelpaste.com. Also, thank you to covepure.com/RSBN. Really a great gift idea for those who are hard to purchase for, because if you rent, this is a lovely machine to have because you won't have any penalties when you move out of that apartment. No need for a plumber, no need for drilling holes and all the pipe fitting. What you see is what you get. It's like a coffee maker or machine that you probably already have on your kitchen counter. And you can see there in the model that it can get hot, the water, very quickly. So if you're drinking tea this time of year, you can not be so impatient waiting on the stove to heat up that water and to get your tea ready to go. It also gets cold very fast, lukewarm, whatever temperature you would like. And what better way than to start off your day cleansing your body with pure H2O. Drink pure, live pure. It's a holiday sale, $250 off right now. JAMA Pediatrics finding that students losing 2 or more points in their IQ if they're drinking from the tap on a regular basis. And God forbid, the continued learning loss happening from COVID affects your student in such a way. On top of all of the fluoride, the agricultural runoff, the hormone disrupting blockers, birth control that don't get completely filtered out through the water filtration plants in the country and through very poor infrastructure by Democrats in big cities. We know what happened in Flint, Michigan. So go with this Clearwave technology, leading the way in reverse osmosis systems, getting rid of 99.9% of the impurities in the water. It's essential this time of year. covepure.com/RSBN. There's even been legislation about this in Utah and Florida, with both governors, Spencer Cox and Ron DeSantis, signing this legislation to make the water more pure in their home states, but get ahead of it, especially if you live in a Democrat-run area. covepure.com/RSBN. The holiday sale, $250 off right now. So scan that QR code there. And thank you as well to Tax Network, tnusa.com/RSBN. You may reach them at 800-357-1415. These leading accountants and former IRS employees in some cases are great patriots. And they want to help you whether you missed April 15th or October 15th or for whatever reason. Many people sometimes open a business and then you have stacks and stacks of papers and notes and not sure about how or where to file, being that you're trying to get by creating a new exciting business in the good old US of A. Well, Tax Network USA is there to help. tnusa.com/RSBN, tnusa.com/RSBN. It's Tax Network USA. Thank you for sponsoring us here on the right side of history. As we break down roughly 50 minutes from now, 50, President Trump to address the nation on tariffs, on global trade, on peace through strength, on the America First MAGA agenda, nearly 11 months into office. And I'm sure we'll touch on some of the Trump derangement syndrome that continues to be out there, but this golden era has ushered in a commander-in-chief who clearly loves his troops, from the dignified transfer today of the Iowa National Guardsman and the interpreter who lost their lives to Syrian terrorists over the last couple of days, to the Army-Navy game over the weekend. President Trump standing at attention, saluting his troops and reviewing them as they sang with the cadets and midshipmen a blended chorus of the national anthem. An extraordinary game to watch as Army squeaked by 17-16 in America's game. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on hand for that, as well as Secretary of Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. So with all these issues around the world, with 8 wars solved in this span of time, with the difficulty that President Trump has found with Russia and Ukraine, with very stubborn leaders, but leading to the light at the end of the tunnel, to the amount of miles that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has put on the plane, getting in and around countless different continents, and mentioning that he's going to visit Australia soon, when the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister were in Washington, D.C. last week, just before the terrible tragedy on Bondi Beach, that very famous point where radical Islamic terrorists opened fire on people celebrating the first evening of Hanukkah. The anti-Semitism that we've seen around the world is unacceptable, here at home especially, but abroad with our friends as well down under. And our thoughts and prayers continue to be with those as President Trump celebrating the Hanukkah holiday just yesterday on the third night of the celebrations to a packed room in the East Room of the White House. And many there stating that President Trump, from Howard Lutnick to Mark Levin and others, he really is, in a way, the first Jewish president. No one has been better for the state of Israel and for American Jews than this president of the United States. He believes in religious freedom. He believes in your right to try. And really, the kitchen counter or the kitchen table issues that President Ronald Reagan spoke of, this president, Donald Trump, wanting to address directly. The Federalist president, with getting rid of the Department of Education and seeing that come to an end and bringing state and local governance back to where they belong. So much of this likely to be touched on tonight in a primetime address before the Christmas holiday to the American people, on top of the largest world embargo in a number of years on the country of Venezuela, in light of those U.S. Coast Guard and defense operations against narco traffickers in the Caribbean and before they reach our ports. We know that fentanyl trafficking has been a horrible thing, especially in the open border from the auto pen. 687,000 being re-released or let into the nation in the same period of time where President Trump saw zero getaways, zero released back into the country. As my former congressman used to say, the proof is in the pudding. As we look towards the 2026 midterm elections and the importance that this race will be, we know that Governor Gavin Newsom, the leader in some polls to be the 2028 Democrat nominee, taking a victory lap on November 5th and stating that he wants Hakeem Jeffries to be the Speaker of the House so that he can get Trump, that he can impeach Trump. It's amazing, their agenda. They have shown their true colors as their messaging is way off on the far left. They throw spaghetti at the wall, try to see what sticks, but their rhetoric, calling people fascists, attacking their political opponents like the seditious Six has done, has led to a more dangerous world. And others have arguably taken up that mantle and taken vicious, horrible actions in the form of violence simply for those who would practice their First Amendment free speech rights. And we've seen that in such a deep and dark way this year, especially in the past week, with so many who have suffered at the hands of radical Islamic terrorism. We are fortunate enough to be joined by Ralph Rebant, who is running for Michigan governor, and he's an outsider, a businessman who wanted to come on the network and touch on his campaign as it leads into 2026 and to reopen the great Wolverine state in the coming year. And then we will go to that Michigan gubernatorial candidate, Ralph Rebant, his interview from yesterday. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's Ralph Rebant, a Michigan gubernatorial candidate. I saw, sir, that the Michigan House move, a very rare move to cancel $645 million in previously approved state spending. Can you dive into this? And this one of the reasons why you're diving into the governor's race.
That is correct. I'm diving in because when a business is failing, as you know, people hire an outsider to come in because they'll tell them the truth and they'll give them real solutions. And I'm convinced, after looking at government my whole life, the people who are connected to it have no idea how to fix the problem that are there. The good thing is, though, this DOGE committee that Michigan just launched, or Matt Hall, the Speaker of the House, launched, it is really a good start, and I'm excited about it. I came out yesterday with a press release on it, and some people are hitting me for that. But they're saying, "Oh, you're going to take money away from hospitals, from this or that." The reality is, the money isn't removed yet. The people who have requested it, whether they're a senator or a House rep, they need to justify what they've requested. And you've seen those commercials. I mean, you're old enough probably to remember this, where the Democrats had a commercial where Republicans are pushing grandma off the cliff in her wheelchair. And it was an effective commercial. I mean, I haven't forgotten it, but that's not what we're about. We're about removing waste, fraud, and abuse so that we can put money toward the programs that really need it. People who are needy, veterans, seniors. So, the people who are commenting on my posts are a little premature.
Yes, and I do remember that very well, with Paul Ryan then running for vice president, becoming speaker, and it really loomed over, his head like a dark cloud leading into his speakership, and ultimately having to vacate the seat because you had a situation where Democrats really won on that messaging. Now, how about this line item veto? Because Michigan's a very interesting state. It usually swings back and forth. It's a purple state, and you've had periods of time like your neighbor to the west, Minnesota, that sometimes switches, even Wisconsin as well, where you might have a Republican legislature, a Democrat governor, or vice versa over the course of the last 2 decades. How do you feel about the line item veto, something that even some presidents want to bring back in the federal level?
Actually, I'm excited about it. And the reason why is there's so much waste in the government. We could talk about those areas, and we probably will have time to do that. But, I don't know if you've seen the movie Dave. Have you seen that movie where the impersonator?
Oh, yes, sir. One of my favorites.
Yes. And I'll never forget the scene where he's sitting around the table. They're discussing the budget, and he's just bringing common sense principles to bear. And he's like saying, so you're going to tell somebody that they bought a car and congratulate them for them when kids are going hungry. That's not going to happen under my administration, So that's exactly how I feel. There's so many common sense things that we could do, and so much waste that, yes, we're going to attack that. And the line item veto is a powerful tool, and that I plan on using that.
And Mr. Rebant, we're expecting really a lot of growth in 2026. Secretary Bessent speaking on that directly from the federal government, that you might have something extremely similar to the 1982, 1983, when Ronald Reagan, the president, saying, stick with the plan because Reaganomics will unleash this American economy. Trumponomics seems to be doing that, but we hear about affordability. We hear about healthcare prices. How is that all affecting Michiganders as they look towards the midterms?
Well, I've talked with Gen Zers. In fact, last Friday night, we had 2 meetings with them. One, I listened to their state of the state address from young people, and then I spoke at their pizza party afterwards, and they asked some really tough questions, and they're concerned about their future. I believe the average age of first-time homeowners is now 40 years old. And that's scary to them, because if they buy a house at 40 and they have a 30-year mortgage, or some are suggesting a 50-year mortgage, they won't even pay it off. And so the concerns that they have are genuine. I believe Trump's tariffs and the things that he's doing are going to prove to pay off. People have asked me what I would do to bring business to Michigan. And I said, well, I wouldn't do what Whitmer's done. She established a department called Global Michigan, and she's basically taking her friends on worldwide trips looking for business. what I would have done and what she should have done is simply go knock on President Trump's door and say, these are the industries we have in Michigan, and we'd like to have some of that $26 trillion that you're bringing to the United States in Michigan to help our people. But obviously, she would rather take a vacation than do that.
And you've had this governor, Whitmer, who locked down literally lakes at times. It was hard for maritime investors and those who own summer lake property to experience even getting their boat out of the marina. So that was quite an experience back during 2020 and even into 2021. The question is, as you prepare for this amazing race that will be the midterms, perhaps the most popular or the most watched in modern American history, why Ralph Rebant for Michigan governor?
Great question. We kind of addressed it already. One is that I'm an outsider. I do have the best perspective on issues that we're facing. I'm not tied to the establishment in Lansing, so I don't owe anyone anything. They don't owe me anything. And so I have nothing to lose but to bring in that which is going to help the taxpayers, because we have to be accountable to the taxpayers. So those are the reasons why I'm running. I'm just looking at, we've sent businessmen and women, we've sent attorneys, we've reelected politicians to the higher office, and we haven't gotten anything from them. It's kind of wash, rinse, and repeat. Every one of those, whether they were Republicans, I can't say every Republican has voted in favor of budget increases, but many did, and enough to make it happen. So if you look at people's records, nothing's going to change if we keep doing the same thing. So I'm coming in as the outsider who has some real live common sense solutions. In fact, on other issues in the budget, whether it's the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, whether it's the Department of Corrections and Prisons, as a police chaplain endorsed by the Southeastern Michigan Chiefs of Police, I have a lot of creative ideas and passing them by those my brothers in blue as well. So I'm just saying I have a lot of creative ideas that no one else has ever thought of or even used. And if they did, maybe they weren't courageous enough to use them.
And with all that foresight, that common sense, that background, what are your top 3 agenda items that you look to really address in a Rebant administration for the first 100 days come 2027?
Well, first of all, is the budget. There's so much in there. And as I said, if we had time, I could even address some of those issues today. But there is a lot of waste in the budget. I'll give you an example. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation gave $50 million to a Appalachian group in Virginia. I mean, they're using our taxpayer money to help some green energy group in Virginia. That's just waste, and that has to cut out. So I've got ideas on how to cut those things, but I've got creative ideas how to help basically reform the prison ministry, because it's a revolving door, and people get out within 6 months, they're back in. We have some pretty bold plans that'll stop that, and to actually see people change while they're in prison and bring them out into responsible citizenship again. So budget, education is huge in my book. Michigan's 44th in the nation. That's just unacceptable. It's something that we will change. Even in that department, you have the Michigan Board of Education overriding the Michigan legislature, which is a first that I know of in Michigan's history. So we want parental rights. That's huge in our book. And then transparency. I know in this whole process, transparency is kind of an umbrella word that I've been using, because Whitmer hasn't been transparent. She's hid why Robert Gordon, or how much Robert Gordon was paid in the beginning of her administration to walk away from his job. The DNR woman who ran the program, we don't even know how much money she spent on her to keep her mouth shut. So this lack of transparency is unacceptable. So one of the things, Robert, that I'm doing is I'm going to have a round table in my office where people from every walk of life can come and sit down once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on the needs. But I want people to come in and share their concerns, share their perspectives, because I'm representing the people, and it's important for them to know what's going on. Plus, this is another thing. I'm sure you've experienced this where you live as well, but the legislature will pass a bill, 2 a.m. The governor will sign it at 2:15. 2 weeks later, we find out, what was that? Why did they sign that? We never heard about that. So I'm going to have what's called Bill's waiting room. And when the legislature passes both houses and it sits on my desk, it's going to sit for 2 weeks because I want to hear from the people of Michigan. And those are just opportunities for them to see that I'm very transparent. Plus the open record need in Michigan. You can't FOIA the governor. You can't FOIA her departments. And so if you can't do that, in my mind, those departments are suspect. So we're going to look at that actually in terms of the budget as well. I told people that I will look at departments that do not allow you to FOIA them. They don't have open meetings. And of course, they signed non-disclosure agreements. That's just unacceptable. People in Michigan need to have transparency and know what's going on in the government that they're paying for.
As a frequent visitor to the Wolverine State, I can concur that Governor Whitmer has been the Marie Antoinette of our time. There's no question about that when it comes to secrecy and big government. And from my hometown and prairie state of Illinois, just outside of Chicagoland, many people going to the public or private institutions there, but leaving to go elsewhere to work, live, raise a family because they have peace of mind. They have bigger paychecks. A lot of people coming down to the Southeast where I'm located for different opportunities. Are you seeing that same problem in Michigan where they're going to household names from Michigan to Michigan State, illustrious universities, growing up in what is truly a beautiful state with wonderful people, and then going elsewhere for opportunities?
We do see that. And the reason why is we're being taxed to death. The budget that Whitmer came in on was $59 billion. It's now $84 billion, give or take. And because of that, she has just bloated the budget. People are realizing how hard it is to live in Michigan. And so our plan is to change that. And we're going to change it with removing property tax. And that's one of our first goals as the governor is to begin to make that process happen. Because it's happened in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, some of these states that realize that if you pay property tax and the government has the ability to take your home from you, all you're doing is renting. Even though you've paid your house off and you have the deed in your hand, the government really owns that deed. And I think that's criminal for the government to come to somebody's home, take their home away because they've fallen on hard times with a medical issue or something else. It's just not right.
Oh, it's a serious problem throughout the Midwest, especially with our seniors and institutions, these big corporations that play patty cake with big government, and then it becomes big government, big business who want to turn the middle class into forever renters.
Right.
So a major issue to focus on both local and state and even at the federal level. Ralph Reban, thank you so much for your time. Gubernatorial candidate in the great state of Michigan. Please come back and see us again on the right side of history.
Thank you. Love to be with you again, Robert, and get into some of the details of our plans.
Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. They treasure this time of year. They cherish this season. It's all the reason for giving and gathering with the togetherness and friends and family and all the joy that you will be having as you get together. Around 54 million Americans or so projected to travel by plane, train, and automobile this holiday season. And you must have medications to make sure you stay healthy during the cold and flu season. Get 10% off right now using code RSBN10. That's RSBN10 from allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. From Tamiflu to antibiotics, ivermectin, and much, much more. Hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, NAD+, 300+ medications that are off-label generic and that your pharmacy likely that's down the street is perhaps not prescribing. So this leading online family pharmacy, family being the key to it, does not care about red tape, bureaucracy, and even having personal health insurance. You just need a pharmaceutical note and your order reviewed by a licensed medical doctor right here in the United States and sent right to your door from where you ordered. Tamiflu, antibiotics, ivermectin, much, much more. Those emergency medical kits as well, All of this life-saving medication you can take on the road with you to celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas in this festive time of year. Code RSBN10, 10% off now for your health needs. Also, thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. Merry Christmas from your favorite Minnesotan. Now a Republican gubernatorial candidate, Mike Lindell. Save up to 80% this holiday season. That's a big 80 from the master marketer, as President Trump has put it. Mike Lindell leading the way to get you a good deal or two from the MyPillow 1.0, the 2.0, to those Giza Dream Sheets made right here in the U.S. of A. But all the way from the Mediterranean Sea, and the most comfortable cotton, arguably. I don't want to make my Alabamian friends upset because there's some great cotton down here as well. But support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network with the My Slippers or even the My Coffee to get your day started right for an easier evening, a deeper sleep, feeling refreshed, and to have an even better morning. There's no doubt that you need to grab the products. Over 2,000 options at mypillow.com/RSBN. Easy to remember that code, RSBN. If you like what you see here at the network, it's your go-to live desk. It is also your rally network as we gear up for 2026 and midterms that will be quite a battle, peacefully and patriotically going out into this country and making that case. President Trump will be doing that tonight. He'll also be doing that on Friday in the Tar Heel state of North Carolina. I will be on the ground with you for that, and I'm excited to see my dear friends in North Carolina. In the meantime, feel free to donate at RSBN by texting RSBN to 801-801 or by visiting rsbnetwork.com/donate. If you'd like to send a check or money order and you are in the stocking stuffing mood, we'd be very happy to receive that at 1550-1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Once again, 1550. That's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830. And this part of the globe, it's getting a bit quiet now. The students have really left us for home for the course over the next month or so, as they'll return around mid-January for second semester. You can also grab all America First updates and exclusive offers by liking, sharing, subscribing on your favorite social media site, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. There you will find the written word diving into crucial issues and various items that President Trump is addressing on a daily basis, that the Congress is addressing on a daily basis, as well as the Republicans tonight passing a form of healthcare legislation that does not include the extension of the Affordable Care Act. Now, many would call that the Unaffordable Care Act, as President Trump aptly showcasing history along that 45-second walk from the residence to the Oval Office, and the 47 presidents, the 45 men that have served in that capacity, to having served 2 non-consecutive terms. We know that to be President Trump and also Mr. Grover Cleveland, a Democrat from Ohio, as the 22nd and 24th president of the United States. With all of those things on mind, and with a difficult number of days in the news coming from the weekend of violence, mostly due to radical Islamic terrorism, you can argue in some cases mental illness, but in certain cases it seems as if it's more purely hatred and really a disdain for their fellow man. And perhaps not that one story is worse than the other, but the killing of Rob and Michelle Reiner by their son. Going in for an arraignment hearing today, his attorney, Alan Jackson, who has a 96% win rate as a defense attorney in this country. He most recently represented Karen Reed, if you saw that case in Boston or outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth. moving that arraignment hearing and being granted by a judge in Los Angeles County, California, to January 7th. So we'll be watching that case as well as we await President Trump to deliver an address to the nation tonight. In case you missed it, he had a press gaggle after the dignified transfer of the remains of the Iowa National Guardsman and the interpreter who suffered at the hand of Syrian terrorists just a couple of days ago, being returned to the United States for that somber salute and a moment of silence. President Trump at Joint Base Andrews returning from Dover, Delaware, for questions from the media.
That was a beautiful event for three great people. And they're now looking down, and their parents and wives and all of the people that were there were, devastated, but great people. Great people. So thank you very much for being there. He's doing a great job.
Is the goal of the blockade with Venezuela to regime change?
It's a blockade. How could they let anybody going through that should be going through? You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back. But they took it. They illegally took it.
Tell you why he's planning to leave the FBI?
Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show.
The nation cash Patel?
Yeah, I do.
You mentioned getting land back from Venezuela. What land?
Getting land, oil rights, whatever we had. They took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
What's the message this evening?
Well, I think the message this evening is we inherited a mess, and we've done a great job, and we continue to. And our country is going to be stronger than ever before. Very soon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, you can say...
From wealth and preservation to securities, regardless of who's in the White House, smart to diversify, as our friend Robert Kiyosaki warning us of 2 banks failing this year, nearly 500 failing during the Barack Hussein Obama administration, and a total of 16 in President Trump's first term and to date now. So grab that complimentary presidential gold guide, because we know that BRICS nations, both friends and foes, divesting from the American dollar, losing 40% of its purchasing power over the course of the last 2 decades. 888-617-7994. Call today. Do not delay, and learn how you can remove those IRA fees permanently for life at RSBN4thegold.com. Whether it's that first property to be purchased, as Mr. Rebant, running for Michigan governor, mentioned in the interview moments ago, that average first-time homeowners and buyers are 40 years old. So things being suspended or waited on, including marriage and children in this country, given the state of the economy and the weakness of an American dollar. But in turn, gold and silver skyrocketing. Gold now over $7,000 an ounce. Silver not far behind at $60 an ounce. So grab some precious commodity, that gold and silver, that you can hold right in your hands at Monetary Gold to diversify your income, your wealth, securities, preservation, retirement, pensions, everything you worked hard for. And if you're a great mom or dad, or maybe grandfather, great grandma, you could leave a nice stocking stuffer, or at least that complimentary presidential gold guide, and tell the kids at home this Christmas you have to start thinking about saving. This is a wonderful way to do that at RSBN4thegold.com. Take some of those savings and trade and bet on the best questions here in America at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will win that Time Person of the Year? I know AI. Can you consider it a person at this point? Mr. Producer and I texting and talking on this topic on a regular basis regarding the movies that have warned us over the years, from iRobot to RoboCop even. And it laid the groundwork for us. Sometimes Hollywood does something right, and we will see as we go into this very brave new world, the positives and not so positive nature, net gains, net losses from the advancements of technology. Will college football be a showcase item this winter? I think it will be, with the 12-team playoff that has been controversial, but all leading to the SEC Titletown location of Atlanta, Georgia, and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which has really played host and headquarters to all of college football. Ohio State, the Buckeyes, who fell short to the Indiana Hoosiers in the Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis. Will they make it to a rematch for the national title to take it all? That Cinderella story from Indiana, really remarkable to watch, as this is their first outright Big Ten championship since 1945 in the sport of football on that gridiron. Countless basketball championships and known as a basketball school, but it seems as if the tides have changed. Will the Georgia Bulldogs bark their way back and then take advantage of what tends to be a home game for them, as they usually get one or two at the Benz every season? What about my Chicago Bears? 10-4 now, once again first place in the NFC North, as they take on the dreaded Green Bay Packers for the second time this Saturday in the prime time. It's Kalshi.com/RSBN. Sports, music, culture, politics, more. It is the American experiment, and you can trade on anything if you scan that QR code there and visit Kalshi.com/RSBN. We are grateful for our sponsors here at the network, especially AngelPaste.com, the miracle that keeps on giving. Christian-owned, they hire veterans. The vitamin B infused Miracle Cream, the OG, a splendid stocking stuffer, including the orange option filled with vitamin C, all natural as well, because I love those emergency packs. But then I was reading the ingredients that will be banned soon, thanks to Secretary Kennedy and Dr. Oz, Marty McCary, the amazing medical staff helping the CDC and making America healthy again. It's about time, and I think RFK Jr. vindicated by his work as an attorney over these last several decades, finding the pollutants in the water, the air, something that's bipartisan. I think Republicans and Democrats as a whole should be able to get along on that. It depends if they're elected officials, but the average Republican or Democrat voter, I think, can agree on those things. Angel Paste leading the way to continue making America healthy again. They're based in Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. And once again, great Christians, and they hire veterans. I love their products. I love their Miracle Cream and their natural facial spray. Wonderful to paint the town red. Again, experience the miracle and grab a few stocking stuffers over at angelpaste.com. As we close into the primetime premiere event of the evening, which we'll see if the ratings are bigger now or when President Trump hosts the Kennedy Center honors on December 23rd. Maybe that will be a Kalshi.com/RSBN question, but soon your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief to deliver an address to the nation on the state of the economy, on healthcare, on Venezuela, on solving 8 wars in 11 months, in a golden era that was inherited by a nightmare of the last 4 years, thanks to the Autopen administration. Stick with us here on the right side of history. I'm Robert McNeely. It's wonderful to be with you on RSBN's live desk in the prime time on this Wednesday, December 17th, the 4th night of Hanukkah. Thanks for tuning in with us at your go-to live desk. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsorships. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com. RSBN. You can scan that QR code now. RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits. The meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. At the top of the hour, President Trump to deliver an address to the nation. In the meantime, we can run through some of President Trump's recent truths across the channels with cut number one, if available, Mr. Producer, and the tragedy of Brown University taking the life of Ella Cook and another student. And a question that many are asking is the Attorney General of Rhode Island with a really bizarre explanation as to why some cameras were there, some were not, but these old buildings connected to new buildings didn't have robust technologies. And President Trump asking, why did Brown University have so few security cameras? There can be no excuse for that. In the modern age, it just doesn't get any worse. Signed exactly by your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, President Donald John Trump. And that's a question that lies in there with these endowments, with, in some cases, billions of dollars going to these Ivy League schools. It was, in many reasons, why the land grant universities were started in the 19th century, whether it be right here in Auburn at Auburn University, to my alma mater, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. It was affordability back then. It was having that access if you did not have an East Coast lineage to these Ivy League schools, or even the question of being able to attend and to break specific barriers of the time. But in 2025 America, if you're someone who's calling for the public funding of these universities that already have ridiculous endowments, and good for them, they're private institutions, why are they not keeping our students safe? Because Alabama is reeling right now with Mountain Brook's very own Ella Cook, a vice president of the College Republicans, seemingly targeted in all this, as we'll watch that case very closely. 19 years young. It's a tragedy that should not have happened. And we should not have to look with our heads on a swivel regardless of where we are in America, especially if we're of the conservative mindset, especially if we hold those political ideologies, and regardless of right, left, center, or anywhere in between, no one should be attacked for their political belief system, period. Number two, President Trump finding, once again, that the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago back to 2022 was outright wrong and an unreasonable search and seizure. That was the FBI's criminal raid on Mar-a-Lago. This can never be allowed to happen again. But President Trump, it does not deter him from continuing his mission on a daily basis, working overtime for the American people, praising the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic with cut number 3. It's great to see Andrej Babiš appointed again as Prime Minister of the Czech Republic. Together, we will once again achieve great success on defense, energy, and illegal immigration, just as we have done during our first terms in office. Andre knows how to get deals done, and I expected incredible things from him, including on F-35s. Congratulations, Mr. Prime Minister. And I believe that Prague, not only an extraordinary city to visit, but also a wonderful time of year during Christmas with those European markets that continue to be so festive, and wonderful to see that. I hope to attend myself one day and get a little flavor of what Europe has to offer during the Christmas season. Now, cut number 4, Mr. Alan Dershowitz, the famed attorney, the person that has said Senator Ted Cruz was his smartest and best student when he taught him at Harvard University, someone who was on hand for the Hanukkah celebration last night in the East Room of the White House. The Alvin Bragg case against President Donald Trump is the worst case I've seen in 62 years of practicing law in the United States of America. It was totally contrived, unfair, and unjust. It should not be allowed to stand, and that according to Alan Dershowitz. On Troy Edgar going a different direction, President Trump stating with cut number 5, today I am proud to announce my nomination of Troy Edgar as the next United States ambassador to El Salvador. Since returning to the Department of Homeland Security on January 20th, Troy has shown outstanding leadership, delivering strong results in protecting our homeland and supporting our America First agenda. His experience, discipline, and deep understanding of border security and the Western Hemisphere challenges make him the perfect choice for this critical post. El Salvador is one of our most important partners in the region. President Nayib Bukele has been a tremendous ally in the fight against crime, cartels, and chaos, and together we are building the safest and strongest neighborhood our hemisphere has ever seen. Troy will play a key role in advancing our Western Hemisphere strategy, strengthening cooperation with President Bukele, and ensuring the safety and prosperity of both our nations, a big step toward restoring American strength across Latin America. El Salvador was the most dangerous nation in Central America, let alone between the Western Hemisphere and North and South America. You did not want to travel there to deal with the crime that was going on with the cartels. But that administration praying on their knees, asking God for intervention, now a tropical paradise. And many El Salvadoran immigrants to America, legal immigrants, actually returning back home to start businesses in that wonderful country. I look forward to visiting myself. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for a cherished time of year. The reason for the season. It's all about Jesus. It's all about God. It's all about celebrating the rebuilding of the Second Temple during this Hanukkah season as we approach Christmas. What are you to do, though, when it coincides with cold and flu season? Get those must-have meds right for you to put in your medicine cabinet or take on the road with you, as we have a lot of togetherness this time of year. They are estimating that 54 million or so Americans will travel over the course of today through January 5th. So get ready for what could be winter weather and some delays, but hearts and smiles very warm as we get to see our loved ones. Make sure you bring that Tamiflu, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, and much, much more. Great stocking stuffers as well. You can take these on the road, as I mentioned. A U.S. doctor licensed here in America will review your order and send it right to your door where you ordered from. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. The key there is family. They are a family organization that is committed to you and getting you those life-saving medications that sometimes your pharmacy down the street will refuse to prescribe because of Big Pharma. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. covepure.com/RSBN. Another way to keep yourself healthy and a great present for the person in your life who's difficult to shop for. We all have them. And what's also nice about this machine, if you're renting, as you can see there, no need for pipes, no needs for a plumber, no need to drill holes and then pay fines when you move out. It's as simple as your coffee maker at home. With their ClearWave technology leading the way in reverse osmosis technologies across the spectrum and across the industry, get the holiday sale that's proven to not only take care of you, but beat the competition all in one fell swoop. covepure.com/RSBN. The holiday sale, $250 off right now. Going, gone. I would jump on this as soon as possible because we know that Democrat infrastructure in big cities especially, they failed places like Flint, Michigan, where lead bled into the water supply with pipes older than your grandma or even your great-grandma, and that led to brain damage, to liver dysfunctions, kidney failure, and gastrointestinal problems. You don't want that this holiday season. With fluoride and agricultural runoff to hormone-disrupting blockers in the water supply, it's good to have the best defense to put forward at covepier.com/RSBN. $250 off right now. And it's very nice, as you saw on the model, how quickly the water temperature can go up, go down, or remain lukewarm. So those big tea drinkers this year, you don't have to steep and wait for your tea to get hot on the stove. It happens instantly when you're in a rush. covepier.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. The getting out of that debt, getting out of tax issues, that could be a great gift this holiday season. Protect yourself from the IRS with these expert accountants and former employees of the IRS in some cases. 800-357-1415 is the number. Tax Network USA Incorporated, tnusa.com/RSBN. And give a call to the experts. They're patriots. They care about you, and they want you to have freedom in your financial future. tnusa.com/RSBN. Settle those today. Do not delay. Once again, 800-357-1415 or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. We are minutes away from the scheduled address of the 45th and 47th President of the United States in the prime time, delivering to this great nation of ours. Every 250 years, you have these cycles of a question. Will a civilization thrive? Will it survive? Will it be as great as it once was? What is the trajectory in which it's growing or not growing? We have hope and light at the end of the tunnel, thanks to this administration and thanks to a cabinet that's working overtime to make America safe again, to make America wealthy again, make America healthy again, and ultimately to make America great again. And it's a coalition of the willing. Republicans, Democrats, those who have switched parties. I look at a cabinet room holding 9 meetings over the course of this tenure, under a calendar year. There were only 9 total cabinet meetings under the auto pen, under the entire tenure. This group working together in a cohesive manner, in some cases having run against each other in the past, having been rivals in the past, coming together to make America great again. As President Trump, per the White House, sharing his historic border victory from open borders to total control, President Trump awarding the newly established Mexican Border Defense Medal to United States service members for their extraordinary work to safeguard our nation's southern border and uphold American sovereignty. As we saw from Border Czar Tom Homan to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, this medal has really been refined and brought back up post-World War I, as it was first introduced in 1918. Under President Trump's decisive leadership, the southern border has undergone a profound transformation to turn back the invasion unleashed by the Biden administration, achieving levels of security unseen in decades. By reversing Biden-era failed policies and swiftly implementing robust enforcement, the Trump administration has restored order, deterred illegal entries, and protected American communities from the threats posed by unchecked migration, transactional and transnational crime, and fentanyl trafficking. Now, here's what you need to know about the success of the Trump administration addressing an unprecedented border security effort in the second term. More than 2.5 million illegal aliens have been removed from the United States of America. For 7 straight months, 0 illegal aliens have been released into the country's interior. Illegal border crossings have plummeted to the lowest since 1970, with the United States on track to see a net negative migration for the first time in at least 5 decades. Highly successful immigration operations, so-called sanctuary cities across the country, including Los Angeles, Nashville, Washington, D.C., where the Guard will be returning. Chicago with Operation Midway Blitz, Memphis as of recent, Charlotte, Boston, and Minneapolis, where we've seen terrible crimes in Charlotte with the stabbings on the trains, to Minneapolis with the SNAP fraud, where it seems all leads back to the corruption of Democrat leadership in the form of Governor Tim Walz, who's out to lunch, and a radical Islamic sympathizer, Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, to AOC +3 that includes Ilhan Omar, who allegedly married her brother for those federal benefits. And the whistleblowers, those government officials in the state, in St. Paul, Minnesota, in the state capital. And the constitutional officers turning their backs on it. Really an amazing story to continue to watch the waste, fraud, and abuse coming from a great state like Minnesota. Maybe Mike Lindell can clean that up. Now, all have been removed, tens of thousands from those streets over the course of the last several weeks and months. The number of Americans dying from drugs has fallen every single month as the Trump administration stems the flow of deadly fentanyl trafficked across the border. More than 62,000 migrant children, many of whom were lost by the Biden administration, have been rescued from sex and labor trafficking. Thanks be to God for that. There's still a total of over 300,000 who were lost due to that open border, whether it be transnational migrants to American citizens. How dare the former administration either turn a blind eye or participate as culprits in the moving and smuggling of human life. It's disturbing. We'll continue to dive into those stories as Secretary Kennedy mentioned earlier this year, what happened there. Let's go live to the White House. President Donald Trump in a primetime address.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug dealers, gang members, and even 11,888 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country, and it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals ever made, and our country was laughed at from all over the world. But they're not laughing anymore. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There has never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before. They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work. And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president. We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. In other words, in a few short months, we went from worst to best. We're deporting criminals, restoring safety to our most dangerous cities. Just take a look at Washington, D.C. It's at levels of safety that we've never seen before. And they decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels. We did that all by ourselves with our people, and we're so proud of it because they were poisoning and destroying our population. Drugs brought in by ocean and by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead. Here at home, we're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22% and in many states 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now under our leadership, they are all coming down and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year. After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen, AI, automobiles. We're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There has never, frankly, been anything like it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. And that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time. Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way, we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes. In addition, I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward. And I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction. They stopped ripping us off, and it began as of 4 days ago. There has never been anything like this in the history of our country. Drugs have only gone up, but now they'll be going down by numbers never conceived possible. It's called Most Favored Nation. And no president has ever had the courage or ability to get this done until now. The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, TrumpRx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. It will be far better health insurance. The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost. And you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy, but that's okay with me because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost. Another major focus is the cost of energy. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Electricity costs surged 30 to 100% under Biden, and the typical family lost $5,000 to $10,000 in higher energy costs. Think of that, $5,000 to $10,000 you lost. On day one, I declared a national energy emergency. Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country. In some states, it, by the way, just hit $1.99 a gallon. And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants, a record, and it's a record that won't be beaten by practically, I would say, by anybody, or certainly not very soon. Prices on electricity and everything else will fall dramatically. The Democrat inflation disaster, again, the worst in the history of our country, also robbed millions of Americans of home ownership and indeed the American dream. The yearly cost of a typical new mortgage increased by $15,000 under Democrat rule. In 11 months, we've already gotten that annual cost down by $3,000, and it's coming down a lot lower. Wait till you see. The numbers are going to be shocking. And I'll soon announce our next chairman of the Federal Reserve, someone who believes in lower interest rates by a lot, and mortgage payments will be coming down even further. Early the new year, and you will see this, in the new year, I will announce some of the most aggressive housing reform plans in American history. A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants. At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens, 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation. Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it. For so long as before my election, the vast majority of good and decent Americans were forced to watch as corrupt politicians plundered the halls of power, exploited our taxpayers, and pillaged every system that makes civilized society function. But not anymore, and you see that every day, not anymore. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected, and our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
And God bless you, Mr. President. He is truly going to be in the names of the greatest servant leaders this nation has ever seen. The likes of Ronald Reagan to Teddy Roosevelt, Ulysses S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, a father of our country as well, who passed away 226 years ago on December 14th, George Washington. Donald Trump, his name is in that Hall of Fame and that Wall of Fame that we see from the 45-second walk from the residence to the Resolute Desk at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Thank you for watching us in the prime time tonight here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off your must-have medications this holiday season. Use code RSBN10. That's RSBN10 for 10% off now. Scan that QR code there for Tamiflu, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and over 300 essential medications, including emergency medical kits that you could take on the road with you as you go see loved ones this holiday season. Between now and January 5th, nearly 54 million of us or more will be traveling by plane, train, and automobile. And All Family Pharmacy, the key being family in the pharmacy, loves this treasured and cherished time of year just as much as we do here at the network. But the problem is it coincides with cold and flu season. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN has you covered with code RSBN10 for 10% off now. Monetary Gold for wealth preservation securities. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide with your 45th and 47th president on that front cover. 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate those annual IRA fees permanently for life. RSBN4thegold.com. RSBN4thegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can get around the central banks that are buying up gold and silver. How you can diversify to buy that first property, to create generational wealth for your family as the BRICS nations divest from the dollar, as the dollar loses its purchasing power 40% over the last 2 decades. No longer a luxury, but rather something so important to look at for your financial future and everything that you worked hard for right there. No one better than Monetary Gold. Scott Chenet, our dear friend, will help you out. Give him a call, and his team will have you covered. Thank you to Monetary Gold for sponsoring us on the right side of history. With that extra wealth and savings, why not trade and bet on the biggest questions in the American experiment? As President Trump said, we are going into a golden era with FIFA, the World Cup around the corner, with the 2028 Olympics. And in the meantime, the 250th signing of the Declaration of Independence with a UFC fight right there on the White House lawn. Can't wait to see that in action. Who will be the college football winner this year? To take it all from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the great Atlanta, Georgia. Will it be the Ohio State Buckeyes or the Indiana Hoosiers who upset them in Indianapolis in the crossroads of America for the Big Ten championship? Will the Georgia Bulldogs bark their way back to the big dance under Kirby Smart and his prowess as one of the best coaches in all of college football? Who will be the Time Person of the Year? Will it not be a person? Could it be AI? Well, probably should be President Trump ultimately, as we just heard that economic prowess and success in the last 11 months of this White House. Kalshi.com/RSBN trade literally on anything and scan that QR code there for your trading questions and have some fun with that there. It's a wonderful site to enjoy. As we break down some of that speech, $1,776 going to active duty members with our military skyrocketing in recruitment, especially from the last year alone. And President Trump giving a preview to 2026, saying that by this time next year, may the world see a nation that watches over its citizens, that has that shared culture, that does not allow Somali migrants to steal from the sovereignty of this great nation, including a certain congresswoman by the name of Ilhan Omar, who almost goes on a media circuit on a daily basis, screaming about how much she hates this country. How dare her? After we took her in as a refugee, perhaps she should not be serving in one of the highest offices you can attain as an American citizen, or even as someone who was not born here in the first place. That scandal with the snap and fraud, waste and abuse. This is why people don't want to get involved in government, regardless of label, from Republican to Democrat. That is the story of the year when it comes to waste, fraud, and abuse at any government level. And Governor Tim Walz really should be ashamed of himself, and especially his Attorney General, Keith Ellison, who it looks as if turned his back and a blind eye to what was happening there in order to funnel and fund more illegal immigration that dates back to former Governor Mark Dayton and Barack Hussein Obama in the White House, who brought Somali illegal aliens into the great state of Minnesota. So we'll watch that very closely. No comments tonight on Venezuela. No necessarily comments on winning 8 wars or fighting for achieving the peace. But President Trump, that's been very clear over the course of these last 11 months, in turn leading to tariffs, 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 as he mentioned in the speech, his favorite word, bringing an estimated $18 trillion back to the United States when it's all said and done. It's an amazing accomplishment with this team over the course of what's a very short period of time. And if you think they went fast in the first administration, this is even quicker, with the foot on the gas pedal as we look forward to the 250th celebration of this great country of ours. The White House just releasing that Democrats caused high prices, President Trump bringing them down. According to the White House, President Donald Trump took office on a promise to defeat inflation and bring down costs, and 11 months later, he has made substantial progress in reversing the inflation and cost of living disaster he inherited, to the inflation being cut by more than half, gas prices falling sharply, real wages increasing, and key household expenses are finally heading in the right direction. President Trump tamed Biden's inflation crisis and is working to bring it down even further. Under the auto pen, Democrats causing an inflation averaging nearly 5%, hitting 9.1 amid the worst inflation crisis in decades, perhaps since the Jimmy Carter administration of the late 70s into the early 80s, fueled by radical left's obsession with spending. The first overall price decline has occurred since 2020 under this president, and core inflation, often called the best measure of inflation, now lower than it was at any time during the last 3 years of the Biden administration. And this can all help if you're avoiding those taxes or you started a new business. TNUSA.com/RSBN can help with all of that. These expert accountants to former IRS employees and experts in the field of math and taxes, a good go-to as they're focused on helping the great patriots like you who watch RSBN on a daily basis. 800-357-1415. That is the number, TNUSA.com/RSBN. Thank you to the great patriots. Protect yourself from the IRS. Whether you missed April 15th or October 15th or anywhere in between, it is a smart move to do today, especially during the holiday season. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. It is the 80% off Christmas sale, thanks to the newest Republican gubernatorial candidate, Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. And whether it is the MyPillow 1.0, the 2.0, the My Slippers, the My Coffee, to the Giza Dream Sheets, you can't go wrong with a MyPillow product. I have a few of them, and I love this company. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Save with code RSBN as well. A Merry Christmas to you and yours, saving up to 80% this holiday season. We are your go-to live desk. We are your go-to rally network, and we are your go-to good guys on the right side of history. RSBnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. You can also send a check or money order to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830-1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830, where it has been a bit nippy in the evening. The sunshine has been shining bright in the Sun Belt, but you do also have some cold temperatures this time of year. So don't think we're completely out of the wintry season or wintry times here, as it is the most wonderful time of the year. Thank you for including us in your Christmas shopping and your Christmas giving at RSBnetwork.com/donate, or again, text RSBN to 801-801. Thank you to angelpaste.com for the miracle that is the vitamin B original that I use on a daily basis. There's also the orange option infused with vitamin C, to a natural facial spray, all non-GMO, all non-chemicals, with many things to choose from at angelpaste.com. They're based out of Spring, Texas. They hire veterans. They are a Christian-owned company, and they love America. We love them too. And they have fine products, products that you can actually recognize the ingredients on the label, unlike some of those other lotions out there on the market. Experience the miracle that is angelpaste.com. They are patriots, and we love our partnership with them here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. A programming note that tomorrow through Sunday, Turning Point USA, it's America Fest out near its headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. We will be covering that, as well as a North Carolina rally. Yours truly will be on hand for that in the Tar Heel State, specifically at the Rocky Mount, North Carolina Event Center. We look forward to what's going to be another primetime speech from President Trump on Friday evening, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. Be sure to tune in as we enjoy this festive holiday season. For all of my colleagues here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Robert McNeely. Have a wonderful evening this fourth night of Hanukkah. May God be with you and yours as we continue to make America great again.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together,